Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Tuesday talk. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. And today I have the special guest of our president and CEO, Margaret Haynes. Margaret, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Okay, so for those of you who are joining us live, and if you're watching us on a recorded basis, thank you for watching this recording. But if you are attending this live webinar, we do love audience participation. There's a Q&A button either at the top or bottom of your screen. You can click on that Q&A button and type in a question. As Margaret and I are visiting over the course of the next half hour, go ahead and type in that question and I will make sure that it gets answered over the course of the next 30 minutes. And we love audience participation, so don't be afraid to type in a question. I'll get it answered for you. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Margaret, you ready for this?
Sure.
Rodeo, you've done this before. So I have a few questions teed up myself that I wanted to ask you over the course of the next half hour. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Let's start back in the beginning. I kind of like to paint a picture from the beginning to current day, where we are today. But speaking of when Right at Home started. So as you know, next year is our 30th anniversary of being a brand and 25th year of franchising. So if you could take us back to the very beginning and tell us about what inspired the founding of Right at Home and how has the company's vision evolved over the years?
Yeah, great question. And I love talking about our beginnings because it's just a great story. So Alan Hager is our founder, and Alan was working as a hospital administrator and here in the Omaha area. And he started noticing and seeing all these individuals that were being discharged from the hospital, heading home, but didn't have necessarily the support resources around them to help ensure that they don't return back to the hospital, right? That they are able to then recover at home or get the resources they need to keep them out of what is the most expensive place to be in terms of from a healthcare perspective. So he decided that he wanted to explore that further and really build a support structure around individuals that need assistance to remain in their home. So he left being a hospital administrator and went and got his CNA license. So he became a caregiver and worked as a caregiver to understand the challenges of going into someone's home and supporting them with either companionship or personal care type things, helping with activities of daily living, that sort of thing. And ultimately then, so he started that in 95 and he started his first right at home office of providing care to individuals. Did that for 5 years. He and his wife at the time built that business. And then in 2000 decided to take this great concept and start franchising it. So they then bringing in some additional resources. Brian Petronic was one that joined the organization at that time, helped Alan actually franchise the network. So take this great business model, build all the operational infrastructure around it so it could be replicated in other communities. And that's what makes a franchise system work, is you can give someone who wants to be in business for themselves but not by themselves, give them the tools and the resources and training so they can then go replicate it in their local communities. And so that was the start of what is now this amazing company that started with just an idea. And it's so fun to think about celebrating 30 years as a brand and 25 years as a franchise network. I mean, there's not a lot of brands that can even say they've made it that long, that they've been in business that long. And our future was so bright. So when I think about, I asked Alan, I had the opportunity, the leadership team and I, to sit down with him this summer during part of our strategic planning. And in a one-on-one conversation, I asked him, did you ever expect that this company would grow to, it's a global company now and franchises across the US and in other countries, and the number of lives that are being touched on a daily basis and the number of hours of care in a week that are being provided? And he said, no, he really didn't. But he did. He said, no, I didn't, but yet I kind of did because I knew how incredible this service is and how important it is and how much meaning it will have and the mission itself is really something quite special, and knew that it would have a huge impact on individuals through the aging process. So it was a yes and a no, because I mean, I don't know that he thought it would get this big. And I told him, well, Alan, we're just getting started. So, we've got so much opportunity in front of us.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. All right, I want to kind of start at the beginning of a prospective franchise owner's journey. So that's the audience who is listening to this webinar today, are people who are interested in potentially joining the system as right at home franchise owners.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking through that lens, can you provide some insight into how Right at Home supports franchise owners in terms of training and just ongoing support and development?
Yeah. So certainly, from the minute that someone inquires about the brand and is wanting to learn about what does it mean to become a franchise, I would say, Jen, you and your team do a phenomenal job of training and helping that individual start to understand, okay, what does it mean to do home care? What is this business model? And what is this thing called Right at Home? What all does it entail? What are the things that are going to help that individual be successful should they decide this is a path that they want to go down? And then what does it mean to come through a discovery day and have the opportunity to learn more about how do we come around that business owner, that franchisee, and help lift them up and provide them with the tools and the resources so that they can have everything, there for them to be successful, ultimately knowing that it ultimately falls on or is contingent upon that local owner actually executing the model. So it starts at the very beginning from the minute you express interest. But then one of the big things that happens is once you've gone through discovery day and you've determined, yes, this is a brand I'd like to be associated with. And us ourselves, we award franchises. We don't just, if someone can write a check, just give someone a franchise, because we really want to make sure that there's the right kind of combination that everything says this person should be really, really successful. But the next big thing that happens then once you sign a franchise agreement is you start engaging with our teams from a support perspective outside of just development. And that's where you will come and spend. We have a part of our training that's called Residence Week. So that's coming to Omaha and spending a week with us and engaging with lots of our subject matter experts and really learning about what is this thing called home care. Because the majority of our owners across the network don't come from a medical background, certainly haven't already ran, in most cases, a home care company. And so come from all different walks of lives. And we've got really talented trainers and subject matter experts and coaches that are really good at taking experiences that others have had in other industries and tying to that to what is going to help them be successful here. So you get assigned a coach. We have coaches that help you in that initial start. So we call it the Right Start coach. And then eventually you have an ongoing coach throughout your entire life cycle with us as the Right at Home brand that is there to help you build a sustainable, profitable business. And I could go on and on and on and probably fill up 20 hours, yep. Not just 20 more minutes of what we do to support our franchisees.
I was wondering how you're going to answer that question, because that's one of those questions that you could probably talk for about, all day on it. That was a great summary. So okay. So one of the many things that I love about Right at Home is how transparent we are. That certainly starts with prospective franchise owners as they're going through the education and approval process and going through franchisee validation, where they pick up the phone and talk to some of our existing franchise owners about what life is like being a home franchise owner. So what I'd like to do is kind of shift gears a little bit. This isn't a normal question that I would ask you, Margaret, but with the theme of transparency, if you could, maybe let's talk about some of the challenges that franchise owners typically face, and whether you want to talk about challenges when you first are starting up your Right at Home business, or ongoing challenges that our more tenured franchise owners face. Just what are some of the challenges that come to mind that you may face as a Right at Home franchise owner?
Yeah, so let me start first, just kind of initial out the gate. So like a new franchise owner, I think certainly we even see this when they come to Residence Week. So you're excited to be here and it's fun to kind of say, okay, we're really getting started and I'm learning the business. And I think throughout that week, there's at some point where I'm really high on the roller coaster and then I kind of drop down and might be thinking, oh my goodness, what did I just do? I feel like I'm, drinking from a fire hose and there's so much information. And so we talk a lot about that with new owners and saying, you're going to get a lot of information, but please know that our goal is to expose you to a lot, but then we're going to give you that garden hose. Instead of it being a fire hose and it's all just splashing off your face, we're going to give you that garden hose so you can control the flow of that information. And then your coach is going to come alongside you and give you what you need at the point where you are in your journey as you're starting to get your business up and running. So when I think of a new business owner, there's that fear factor of, gosh, maybe I've been working for a large corporation or focused in just marketing area. And now all of a sudden I'm the person, right? I'm owning this business. It's mine. I'm wearing lots of hats initially because this business starts off with not a huge staff. Just takes a couple people to get an office up and going. And so that means, you're doing different things that maybe weren't wrote for you in your previous role. Then I think about the business model itself and maybe some of the challenges there. And I say not challenges in the sense that I think of challenges as opportunities. So, our business is different than maybe other businesses that you could go out and purchase or start up because we are a 24/7, 365 business, right? So people are getting discharged from hospitals or families are in crisis at any time during the day or night. So when you're first starting off, you may be taking some calls at times that aren't like an 8 to 5 job would be. So you really need to be all in. But to me, that's a great opportunity to start setting the culture and showing your local community about who you are and why you're so passionate about this thing called home care and specifically our mission, which is to improve the quality of life for those that they serve. And then I think about, tenured owners, right? It's they have challenges of, gosh, I've built this really big asset, and so now what am I going to do with it when I'm ready to go off and
Yep.
go maybe into my retirement chapter? And we have lots of resources around that aspect of business ownership that help you think through, okay, well, what do you really want to do with this really valuable thing that you've built? Do you want to pass it down to individuals in your family? We can help you sell it. What do you want to do? So it's such a fun business model because every day's different. And yet you're just having such an amazing impact on individuals' lives. So the fun way outweighs any kind of concerns, and it's just I love getting up and coming to work every day, and I've been here 14 years, and yeah, it's never a dull moment.
Yep. And we do encourage individuals who go through franchisee validation to ask about, tell me about really awesome days and tell me about some of the challenging days that you could
Yes.
See as opportunities. So we encourage you to get a balanced perspective. And I did recently, the franchise development team did recently invite someone to Discovery Day. And I believe that he said, he was quoting his daughter on this, that, business ownership isn't always rainbows and butterflies.
You're exactly right. Because at every Discovery Day, I'll ask prospects that I engage with, have you caught somebody on a good day? Because I hope you do. A great day, but I also hope you, kind of catch somebody on a bad day because it's all of those things. But that's the great thing about franchising and being part of the Right at Home system and how we engage with our franchise owners is we're here for all of that. When you're having a bad day, we want you to pick up the phone and call. When you're having a great day, we want you to pick up the phone, call. And every day in between, we're there to come alongside you and help you continue to grow your business.
Yep. Okay. Yep. So a question just came in, and I'm going to read it to you word for word here. It says, what do you foresee happening with Medicare paying for certain in-home care profitability for the in-home care industry?
So such a timely question, as I know that Vice President Harris
Mhm.
just made an announcement, and I saw a note earlier this morning that she was going on, I think it was The View today, and was going to be announcing this
Yep.
new package of support services, things that they're doing in Medicare to help people stay in their home and pay for some services. So I don't know all the details in terms of what's incorporated into that package that's being brought forward, but the high level summary is that it would pay for services like what we provide. So and support even family caregivers that are, working with their loved one and helping them age gracefully wherever they call home. So in general, that's really good news. I would say broadly around just what's happening with healthcare, we know that the services that we provide are so critical to helping with this aging process and this aging tsunami that's drawing on all the entitlement resources. Because we come alongside home health. So home health calls into or dips into, and their primary payer source is the entitlement programs coming out of Medicare. We come alongside home health and say, okay, family, for what Medicare will pay for, you get this. But then here, what's all the other needs that you have surrounding that? And that's where Right at Home could come alongside. And so we have really good synergistic relationships with home health partners with what we do. And I can speak to my own usage of both the services that come from the entitlement programs like Medicare with my own parents, and then bringing Right at Home alongside to supplement that to meet the rest of the needs that we needed in order to keep my mom and my dad out of a facility and where they wanted to age gracefully. So legislation's always changing. I think it's a great thing that we're getting more and more input from our federal government and at the state level in terms of supporting families in the payment of these types of services, because that's what we need to do with what's coming in the future with the baby boomers that are going to be moving into that age range where they're going to want to use our services. So I think it's a great thing. And as I sit on the board of the association of our industry, which is the Home Care Association of America, or we say HCAOA. We love our acronyms. And we're constantly talking at a federal level and at a state level and advocating for the things that will support our industry as a whole and support individuals in their home.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
you're welcome.
Of changes and things that evolve over time. Innovation, technology, artificial intelligence. It's a frequently asked question that I get as well as the rest of the franchise development team. My question for you is, how does Right at Home handle innovation and adapt to changes in the home care industry as far as technology goes?
Yeah, so we're constantly keeping our finger on the pulse in terms of what's happening around technology and innovation. So much so that we actually have a team within the corporate office that is carved off, and all they think about is innovation around the business model and innovation around technology. So we made that decision several years ago to say we want to have this team focus solely on that and not distracted by any day-to-day just kind of core operations, because obviously we're always doing many innovations in core operations as we always think about how can we make things even better. And an example is, right now we're in the throes with the network of bringing in a robust CRM solution, customer relationship management solution. And so I call that more happening on the operational side, although it is technology that's coming in to help drive efficiency. Whereas our innovation team, they're looking at different in-home technology and different services and bundling of services that could be a way to continue to grow and meet the needs of the changing consumer. Because we know the baby boomer consumer is going to be very different than the silent generation or the traditionalists that we're taking care of right now. So thinking in advance. And then AI. So we also have resources focused on just what's going on with AI. AI is here to stay. It's moving really, really fast. And we are staying up on that. We aren't trying to be bleeding edge adopters of AI, because we want it scares me, but it also really excites me. And the scary part is we just want to make sure that any AI that we're using it in a responsible way that protects privacy and those sorts of things. So we have pilots that are going on internally as well around AI, and we've spent some time building out some use cases of where we think that will come into our business and help our franchisees drive operational efficiency. I think that's the first place where we're going to see that happening. And we're seeing it already today internally with some of the things that we're doing. But AI is going to be here. But do I think robots are going to go in and replace caregivers and provide personal care? Absolutely not. At one point, many years ago, that was the thought coming even from our Japan master licensee at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And even Japan now is trying to import a lot of human beings to help with their aging population, because there's certain things that technology can't do and that the human touch is important of. But so the message overall is there's a lot going on in technology. We are keeping our eye on a lot of the changes that are happening. We've got lots of mini pilots. And that's what I love too about a franchise network, because we can test lots of little things with franchise owners that technology is their thing, and not bother the ones who are like, yeah, technology isn't my thing. Yep. And yet still bring then solutions to the system once we've tested them out that serve as a good return on investment and something that could bring great value to their local community.
Okay, so I have a clarifying point to something that you said in a follow-up question. So when Mark says the word we, like, how can we improve? How can we make things better? She's not referring to just us here at Right Up Corporate and just the leadership team. Make no mistake, we involve our franchise owners in decisions. So my question to you is, what opportunities are there for franchise owners to provide feedback and suggest improvements to the franchise system?
Yeah, so this is another one that I could talk forever and ever about in terms of, but let me just pick on some of the kind of key highlights of how do we get feedback from our franchise owners. So we are a very collaborative ecosystem in franchising. So I think it's one of the things that really sets us apart from even others in our industry and just franchising in general in terms of the collaborative relationships that we build. So we have a strategic leadership council, for one example, and they are made up of representatives. We take the U.S. and we break it up into 8 regions, and each region votes a participant to be their representative on the council, and they serve for a certain number of years. But that council really helps drive our strategic direction. They help us keep our finger on the pulse of what's most important to them and how we can too. Because again, I think I've already said it today, but we get up every day here at the corporate office and we're thinking about how do we help our franchisees build sustainable, profitable businesses. To do that, we have to be plugged into what is happening in the field. So our coaches are a great also tool of bringing back to the corporate office what's happening in the field and how can we support. We have performance groups that are made up of franchise owners, and they come together and talk about operational challenges and growth challenges and things that are keeping them up at night and bright ideas. And we use that as an avenue to make sure that we are always staying current on what's there. We survey our franchisees for those that would just rather kind of give some written feedback. We provide avenues for that. We have weekly Takeoff Tuesday webinars that are geared around showcasing franchise owners doing best practices, as well as us sharing best practices from things that we've learned in the field, and again, just collaborating. And we have our big annual meeting every year that we call Home Improvement. That brings everybody together, and it's a lot of opportunities for us to hear and all of us to learn best practices from each other. So it's I just scratched the surface.
Thank you for that, Margaret. All right, so as you were answering that question, a question came in, and I'll read it to you here. Okay. It says, we are looking into a territory where there is a significant population who come from Asia. Does Right at Home have the resources to target this demographic? If so, what are they, and how can it help me with building my business?
Yeah. So we certainly have a marketing department, and there's online marketing specialists that are assigned to each franchisee to help them build their presence from an online perspective, because that's where a lot of people are searching for services. So there are ways in which we can do things to help attract to whatever the demographics look like in your particular market. I'm probably not the best one to go into the details of the different marketing elements because we have a chief marketing officer that runs that entire department. But what I can assure the individual asking that question is absolutely, as we work to give you the marketing tools and what the brand fund does, the national marketing, it's always designed to drive leads into your local office. And certainly in doing that, making adjustments in local areas based on what their demographics might look like. We partner with the franchise owners to make sure that there's an effective campaign or effective materials that are being used to reach those that could benefit from our services.
Okay, perfect. You answered that very well.
I'm like, I'm not the marketing expert, but yeah.
Spot on. Okay, so we only have about 4 or 5 minutes left. Do want to ask you this question before we part ways here. So when you think about right at home long term, just think about the future of right at home. If you could maybe just comment a couple things about the future of right at home and really how our franchise owners fit into that vision and fit into that goal as we look into the future. What kind of part do our franchise owners play in the broader vision of the future of right at home?
Yeah, so the franchise owners play the biggest role in the future vision of right at home. So it is our collective success that is driving the growth of the brand. And so we are very blessed to have just amazing franchise owners in the network and really tenured franchise owners, but also new owners that are coming in. We certainly have new territories that are being started up. Jen and her team, for those that are listening, have done a fabulous job this year and overachieving on the goal we set of just new territories, which actually is quite remarkable given the age of our system. And, to compare to some maybe new concepts that are starting up or new brands that, the world is their oyster and they have lots of territory to sell. To see the growth that we're having in new sales is just a testament, I think, to the brand. And again, what Alan started back in 95 and kind of how it's grown and the reputation and the quality that's built around that. But that all is from a very, very strong franchise network and a strong culture that works to constantly collaborate and look at what's changing in the market and adapt to market changes. So in the future, I see we're just getting started when I think about we're just on the cusp of this massive boom of demand for our services. And to meet that demand, we've got to obviously be that employer of choice in the local markets. So we talk a lot about that with our franchise owners because we want caregivers to choose the right at home brand as the brand they want to work for before anybody else. And so we talk a lot about retention and just how do you take great care of this important asset in your individual business being your caregivers that are going and providing the services. But with that, we know that we'll continue to adapt to the changing healthcare system. And the healthcare system needs our industry. They need right at home for the things that I talked about earlier of not drawing on the entitlement programs. We will be a solution that helps both our government and us as an aging population help people age gracefully wherever they call home. So the future is so bright. And I know that maybe sound a little, corny or whatever, but it is because we are just getting started. So much growth opportunity, and it's going to come with partnering alongside our franchise owners.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Margaret. Time flies when you're having fun. It's been Any final parting thoughts for our listeners?
Just thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. Thank you for your interest in our brand and whatever you choose. Certainly wish you great success. But I am biased and would say, gosh, right at home, it's a great place to be. And I do. I love getting up and coming to work every day.
So do I. Thank you so much, Margaret, for taking the time to do this today. I appreciate it. And I know our listeners do as well. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.